All right, welcome back into Infinity. We're continuing to monitor the breaking news out of Israel this evening. The IDF confirming they have launched airstrikes against Iran's nuclear program. We do not know if that means nuclear facilities, but explosions being reported in the Iranian capital of Tehran. For more, let's welcome in Newsmax correspondent Zach Anders, who's live in Tel Aviv. Zach, good evening.
Hey, good evening. Yeah, we're watching and waiting right now for what we expect would be an Iranian response. That's why I've got the press vest on, a helmet nearby. If we do get an alarm, Rob, I am going to need to go inside and head for shelter, because the last time that we dealt with these incoming ballistic missiles, some 200 plus back in October of last year, they were heavy hitters. This is a moment right now that you can imagine has waylaid the nuclear talks, the sixth round of talks that were expected to take place this Sunday. They were going to take place under the precipice that, or the idea that this would be an opportunity to finally give Iran that last chance to agree to a nuclear deal. It appears, as we've been reporting throughout the week, that Prime Minister Netanyahu has a different idea. This is a preemptive strike by Israel on Iranian nuclear interests, we will say at this hour, because we don't have confirmed hits on the nuclear sites. Those are way out in the desert. And so it's probably going to be hours, if not days, before we either get a satellite pass or somebody out there with a cell phone to be able to see smoke rising up from a desert facility before we'll know whether or not those nuclear sites have been hit. Some of these are very deep underground, but I think what is very telling right now from the first that we learned of this was the smoke rising up in apartment blocks over Tehran. Right now, the airspace is completely closed, so something just caught my attention it sounds like afterburners overhead. Certainly, Israeli jets, there are no commercial flights over Israel right now. The airspace is totally closed. The alarms went off, and that caught my attention because it was the first time that I've been here over these 2 years of war that I heard the alarms go off, and we didn't also get a simultaneous update on our phones. And within about 30 seconds of that, for the first time, we got what you would probably in the States be familiar with, an Amber Alert, the same tone. This one telling us that a state of emergency has been declared in Israel and that everyone needs to head for shelter. So right now, what we expect is taking place based on the scale of what we're seeing in Tehran alone, what I mentioned earlier, the fact that we're seeing apartment blocks hit and what appears to be very accurate targeting of specific floors of those apartment blocks. But based on what we're hearing on the Israeli side, it appears that Israel is also going after personnel. They're trying to hit some of the nuclear scientists, some of those figures or heads that are involved in the nuclear program. The fact that they're hitting the capital of Tehran alone right now probably speaks to that this is a massive in-scale level of attack. I am assuming, and I'll caution that I'm only assuming at this point, that means that they've also been striking or already struck the nuclear facilities out in the desert. But again, it's going to be a long time before we know for sure and are going to have confirmation if those facilities have been hit. We might get a pop later tonight, some visuals from one of those sites. But again, they're very remote and heavily guarded by the Iranian authorities and the Revolutionary Guards. So it would be very unlikely that we're going to see anything come through tonight. What we will probably see some form of tonight, an Iranian response. Remember the last time that they attacked Israel, some 200 plus ballistic missiles. And I know that what we reported and what the international media, the Israelis were saying was that it didn't have much effect. And that's true. The civilian population centers were unscathed. They were protected by the air defenses. But there was an airbase in the south of Israel that did get hit very hard. Now, that doesn't have a huge impact on the Israeli Air Force because in moments like these, every pilot in his jet and every jet is in the air, expecting that those are going to be primary targets, hitting the hangars, hitting the runways at some of these Israeli air bases. But Iran does have significant capacity and capabilities with their ballistic missiles to be able to target some of these military installations and inflict damage. So we're watching the skies tonight, Rob. We expect that there could be some level of a response immediately, although I will say, having covered this region now for 2 years, that sometimes what we've noticed with Hezbollah, with the Houthis, and with Iran is that they will wait. They will wait several days and calculate their attack and launch a massive volley all at once. But I do feel like this is different. This is a moment where the talks were set for Sunday. We all expected that we were going to be in Oman for those talks. Israel changing the game, trying to catch Iran off guard. Catching Iran off guard certainly changes the calculations, and perhaps they react in kind and try and hit back hard tonight. They certainly have the capabilities to do so. So we're watching the skies, and if we see anything, we'll certainly have a live picture for you, Rob.
All right, Zach Anders, stay safe. Excellent reporting. Just for our viewers at home, it is almost 4 in the morning where Zach is in Tel Aviv right now, and we'll keep in touch with him. Want to welcome in Free Press columnist Batya Ungar-Sargon for more on this. And Batya, of course, we were going to talk about something else, but that's what happens sometimes when you're working in the news business. And this is certainly breaking news. Just a question for you, and if you don't have an answer, it's fine. We can move on. But Zach mentioned that October 1st, 2024, Iranian attack, some 200 ballistic missiles, and they were going after Israeli citizens. Just like on October the 7th. The Iron Dome prevented that, along with the United States, prevented those missiles from hitting their target. What's the status of the Iron Dome right now?
As far as I know, it's, locked and loaded and armed and ready to protect Israeli civilians. What we know about the situation right now is that the Israelis had given the Trump administration warning that this was something they wanted to do. The president continued to post to social media that they were still full on in the negotiations game with the Iranians. And so the question is, did the Israelis do this in defiance of the administration, or did the administration tacitly give them the green light to do it, while now also saying outwardly that we were not involved as the United States? And I think that's the big question that everybody's going to be looking to. Clearly, the president in the beginning was very adamant that he did not want to get into war with Iran. He won on a no-war platform, but it does seem that he has opened up more to the possibility that this is something Israel feels it absolutely needs to do, and that this is an opportunity it cannot miss. And so that's what I'm looking for right now.
So just to update everyone at home, so Donald Trump is up. He has convened an emergency cabinet meeting, which is apparently going to get underway moments from now. Israel has launched this preemptive strike on Iran, explosions in the capital of Tehran in Iran. My one issue right now, Batya, a lot of what we're hearing is being reported by Iranian state media. And I always sort of recoil when I see something like that. It reminds me when we see CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times and the Washington Post quoting the Hamas health ministry. I'm not certain that I'm ready to believe Iranian state media yet. So we're in the early stages, but clearly something is going on.
Yes, absolutely. And what we know is that Israelis have been told to stay near their shelters and to be on high alert, and that they are expecting some sort of retaliation, which it's unthinkable that the United States would not be in their corner if there is a retaliation from Iran, which, we're all praying will have zero casualties and not be too devastating.
All right. Batya Ungar-Sargon, great to have you on this evening. Thank you so much for being with us during this breaking news. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.